brand new episode of the Comic Call is now live. My name is Dylan Lang, talking from the basement of an undisclosed location in Reisterstown, Maryland, with this week's Comic Call of comics that came out this week that I bought, and I will be showing to you to try to sell to you guys. Some big things going on this week, particularly one big thing that sort of surprised a lot of people, and I'll be talking about it more on my regular show, Dylan Knows, tomorrow actually at 9:30. So tune in for that, hear a little bit more about that. But for now, this is the big event of the day, of the week rather, of the year for the most part you can even think about. It's a game changer. And you might want to go to your local comic book store this weekend and pick up a copy of this issue before it goes away. And it is Batman number 24. Get ready to spoil this because it is a big major story. Tom King has been writing the heck out of this book. I absolutely adore this book. I've enjoyed every minute of this book, and I've enjoyed the growing relationship between Batman and Catwoman. This issue is basically as it says up here, every epilogue is a prelude. This is the epilogue to the Bane, I Am Bane storyline, which Catwoman played a big part in, and also is a prelude to, we're going to go back in time a little bit and face off against Riddler and Joker, which could be very interesting. I've always been an anti-Joker type of person. And, you know, I was happy when I saw Scott Snyder took his take on the Joker, but then when he kept returning to the well, I was like, okay, I get it. But if you don't keep returning to the well, tell your Joker story, and it might be entertaining. Hopefully this one will be, it'll be the year of jokes and riddles or something like that. Let's see, what is it? It's the War of Jokes and Riddles is the next story arc, which is it's been referenced briefly in the previous comic, in one of the issues of the comic when the Riddler was talking to Batman. So we'll be seeing more about that, and Mikel Janen's coming back to do the artwork, so I'm excited about that. Plus, Tom King is doing a fabulous job. But what's so big about this book? Well, again, I'm hitting spoiler territory. It's written by Tom King. David Finch there's two concurrent storylines. One is Batman and Catwoman. David Finch and Danny Mickey do the artwork for that, and Clay Mann and Seth Mann do the artwork for the storyline with him and the Gotham Girl. So there's some Finch, and there's some Clay Mann with Gotham Girl, and it's just a discussion. This issue is just really discussions. This is Clay Mann and Seth Mann again, and then see if I can get here's good Finch Mickey artwork. So it's a good back and forth, and a good taking a look into Batman's psyche. And here's the reason why you need to go out to your local comic book store this weekend and buy this book. Spoiler warning. It says, "Marry me." Batman proposes to Catwoman in issue number 24 of Batman. You need to go out and get this issue. It's going to be a game changer, and hopefully it's not going to be a one-off. Hopefully Tom King has a goal that he wants to do, an end game or whatever they wants to do. So definitely pick it up. Definitely pick up any of the trades because he's been doing a great job. Tom King and Peter Tomasi, who we're talking about in the new Superman, came out this week, Superman number 24, have been doing phenomenal jobs. I can't forget Patrick Gleason. He's also doing he co-writes Superman. Superman's been fantastic. Batman's been fantastic. Other books that we talk about have been fantastic, but this one is continuing the Manchester Black storylines. Patrick Gleason, Peter Tomasi, Doug Benke, and Patrick Gleason team up on pencils. Jaime Mendoza, Mick Gray, Joe Prado, and Doug Mackey are inkers. So you get the return of Manchester Black, which is interesting because he was supposedly going to be based on one of the Watchmen characters. Or was that actually I think it might have been, I think I'm wrong there, not Watchmen, the Wildstorm characters. But he's back, and he's trying to corrupt young John. Ooh, a little crypto action is in there, so good that. So Superman is continuing to be a good story as well, just as much as Batman is. Another one that's really good story is Sam Humphries writing Green Lanterns. Green Lanterns has been phenomenal also, and once again, Guy Gardner gets punched out. Sam Humphries' writer Carlo Barberi and Matt Santorelli are the art team, and if you like Carlo Barberi stuff, it's kind of refreshing to see this. So it's nice to check that out. But the new Green Lanterns are getting trained by the Green Lantern Corps before they go back and go back to Earth and protect Earth. So pretty good story and good artwork and enjoyable. So another slam dunk for DC on those first three. Next up is Deathstroke. Now this has been interesting. Deathstroke number 20. Deathstroke for the longest time has been bi-weekly. And the bi-weekly books are $2.99. The three previous ones we just saw were all $2.99 because they're bi-weekly. You get 2 issues per month. Deathstroke used to be bi-weekly also, so I don't know why the price changed to $3.99 for Deathstroke. Is it because it's going to go to monthly? I don't know. I haven't heard anything, so I don't know. It's not any thicker than usual. It's the epilogue to the Lazarus contract. It's written by Christopher Priest, Larry Hama, breakdowns, Carlo Paglione, pencils, Jason Paz, and Sean Parsons are doing the inks. So it's just basically Slade is setting up his new team after the events of the Lazarus contract. And hopefully, if it's going to monthly, that's fine. I'm still going to probably collect it, but I kind of wish maybe I knew about it before I was checking to see what was coming out. And I was like, oh, why is this $3.99? So we'll see. But new team is being assembled as we speak, and we're going to see more about them in the next issue. So Harley Quinn number 21, also out this week. This continues the backup storyline written by her creator, Paul Dini, and Jimmy Palmiotti helps write that out, and Brett Blevins pencils and J Bone inks. So that's the backup story. And then Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Conner are writing the story with Joseph Michael Linsner art and John Timms, who have been doing the back and forth on the art for a while. So it's good to see a little bit of everything. Harley's one of those characters that, as normally I probably wouldn't be buying it, but Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Conner are involved, then yes, I'm going to be buying it because I like them very, very much. So these are all books that came out. And I said, these aren't all the books that came out this week. These are only the ones that I bought. I'm telling you, this is the one you want to go get, Batman 24. Fall and Rise of Captain Atom number 6 finishes up the miniseries. Hopefully that'll bring Captain Atom into the new DC universe eventually, but it's written by Carrie Bates and Greg Weisman with art by Will Conrad. So if you've been following the storyline, you're finally going to get your final wrap-up, and hopefully it'll introduce Captain Atom to the DC Universe Rebirth, and maybe he'll play a big role with their upcoming battle with Watchmen. So we shall see. So check that out. If you haven't gotten any of the other issues, maybe you might be able to find them, or if you want to wait for the trade, wait for the trade. But the final issue is out this week. That's it for the DC proper stuff. Speaking of final issues, I'm a little depressed about this because this is the book that snuck up on me. And I got the first couple issues, and then I just stopped getting it, and then I learned how important a comic it is, and I went back and I've got the rest of it. So I've read everything now, except for this issue, The Flintstones, issue number 12, the final issue, written by Mark Russell with art by Steve Pugh. This is the end of Mark Russell's run on the Flintstones, and he's basically, the DC is basically canceling it as well to make room for some of the other stuff. Mark Russell is going to be writing a what's the character's name? I forget what the character's name is. He's going to be writing another Snagglepuss character. So this wraps up all the stuff that's been going on in the world of the Flintstones, and Mark Russell will be back with Snagglepuss. So that's the end of the Flintstones. Final issue is out. You might want to pick it up. because it is one of the most socially conscious comics out there nowadays. And it's a swan song for Mark Russell. He will be, as I said, doing a Snagglepuss book coming out probably later this fall. And I can't wait for that one. And I will definitely be buying that one on a regular basis. So that's it for Flintstones. So save me money there, but that's only for a few months until Snagglepuss comes out. So there we go. That's it for DC. Marvel. I keep not getting quite as much Marvel. This week is pretty heavy Marvel-wise. As I said, I don't know how much longer I'm going to stick with this, but I always want to check out the first issues of stuff that look interesting to me, and this one looks interesting to me. It's Iceman #1. Now, I'm not a big X-Men fan. It's written by Cinna Grace with art by Alessandro Vitti. This is kind of a game changer also because they've recently turned Iceman into a gay character, and this is the first regular series that contains a gay character as its main protagonist. So we'll check it out. It's Iceman, and it might be a very important book down the line. So I got the first issue. I'll read it. I'll see if I like it down the line. Rocket #2. I like Rocket Raccoon, and he's back on Earth, so I figured I'd keep getting this. Al Ewing is the writer. Where's the art? Gorham and Garland are the art team. It's Rocket Raccoon. That's all I need to know. Again, one of these books that I want to check out a first couple issues. I like the character of Rocket, so have him have a solo book. We'll see what happens. So making him kind of a lawyer-esque thing is kind of interesting. So it's Al Ewing, Adam Gorham are the creative team. So that's it for Rocket. Hawkeye #7, written by Kelly Thompson with art by Leonardo Romero and Jordi Belair doing colors. So Hawkeye's been a really good book with Kate Bishop. Fascinating series. So got to keep getting this one until they cancel it, which is probably imminent, unfortunately. Finally, Marvel-related stuff. Got Amazing Spider-Man #28. As I mentioned before on the show, Amazing Spider-Man was the first comic I ever collected. Was the first character I ever truly loved. My dad set up my collection, and he got started. In the last few years, I've been an on and off again Amazing Spider-Man collector, but with Dan Slott's writing, starting a new story arcs with Stuart Immerman being a penciler, Wade Van Graal Badger as the inker, I figured I'd better start maybe thinking of this as more of a monthly for me because it is Spider-Man, and I'm a big Spider-Man fan, but we'll see if he gets involved with the Secret Empire crap. I might end up dropping it, but Spider-Man is Spider-Man, and I need to get caught up on some of the trades, but Spider-Man is Spider-Man. He will always be in my heart the character that got me into comics, and still one of my favorites of all time. Even if I might not be collecting his comic on a regular basis or reading it, I am now. But as I said, sometime down the line, it might not happen, and I need to read some more of his stuff. Marvel's continuing to have success with their Star Wars series. Another new book out this week is Darth Vader #1. Now, this is the second volume of a Darth Vader #1, and it's taking a different look at Darth Vader. The first volume was written by Cullen Bunn with art by Salvador Larroca. It was fantastic, and it sort of took place a little bit closer to A New Hope. This story is written by Charles Soule, who's another really good writer and has been really involved with the Star Wars world here at Marvel. It's going to be more of almost a Darth Vader year one. It's taking a look at right after the end of Revenge of the Sith. It's Camuncoli. What's his last name? Charles Soule writer, Giuseppe Camuncoli pencils, Cam Smith inks. It literally takes place exactly right after the end of Revenge of the Sith, where Darth Vader is revealed in all of his glory, and as he's still trying to recover from things, and the world is still recovering from the Jedi purge. It's so recent and so close. So that's a fascinating take on it, and Charles Soule's doing a good job with that. And as always with the first issues, Chris Iliopoulos does a backup story with robots. So it's fun and it's cute. So Darth Vader #1 is recommended. I don't know if it's a regular series or if it's going to be finite, like the original Darth Vader ended with issue 25. I got to get those trades and read those stories. But from what I read of the early ones, I really enjoyed them, and I've heard nothing but good things about it, so I might stick with that a little bit longer too. That's it for Marvel. Independence. This one I almost didn't buy, but I decided I may as well check it out. Magnus #1. Bringing back Magnus Robot Fighter, and this time through Dynamite Entertainment and a new version of it. It's a female Magnus Robot Fighter. And then there's an ad for the new Shadow #1, set in the modern day. So that could be interesting. Magnus is written by Kyle Higgins with art by Jorge Fornes. There's also a Turok backstory by Chuck Wendig, who's writing some Star Wars novels, actual novels, not comic book novels. And he will be doing the regular Turok series when that comes out, and Alvaro Saraseca is doing the art. So you get 2 stories for the price of 1 in this Dynamite. I have to take a look at it because Sovereigns #1, I think, has all of them together in a team, so I'm going to have to pick that up. Magnus Robot Fighter is the Gold Key heroes, like with Solar and Turok and stuff like that. They came out in the early 90s. Originally, they came back and were modernized by Jim Shooter. And then they soon got too big for their britches and disappeared. And then Dark Horse tried to redo them, but just didn't do as well. Ooh, Sheena. Ooh, more touch doing the artwork. Yeah. Sheena Marguerite Bennett doing a Sheena comic for Dynamite Entertainment, up there with the Vampirella and the Red Sonja #0s you get for 25 cents just to get it. I might pick that out. More tests doing the artwork. And then you've got the Turok story here, the backup. So we'll see what happens. Anything else exciting coming up here? Nope, not yet. There's chart number 1. Dr. Spectre backup. So Dr. Spectre will be another one that they're going to be bringing into the Gold Key universe. I'm sure they'll bring Solar into the Gold Key universe eventually as well, because he's another one. But until then, there's that. So figured, I was a fan of the original Magnus when it came out in the 90s. I figured why not check out the new one just to see what it looks like. And then I'll have to go find Sovereigns because I think it's them as a team. And I'll check that out. So I'll get that at the comp store maybe this weekend. Aftershocks, another series, another company that's doing really well. This one is Pestilence #2. The premise of this one's pretty interesting. The Black Plague that hit Europe in the 1300s was, in this comic, was actually a zombie apocalypse outbreak. So that's kind of interesting, a take on the zombie world. It's written by Frank Thierry with art by Oleg Okunev. It's a bit more mature. There's no nudity in this one. There was nudity in the first issue, but there's none in this one. But it's basically, what if the Black Plague was actually a zombie outbreak and not a disease outbreak? So it's an interesting theory. Again, it's an interesting take on history, and the art look is pretty. So, and Aftershock can't really do any wrong. They've got some great books out in there. Keep getting some new ones out all the time. So good for that. And then finally, the final issue of Mark Millar and Greg Capullo's Reborn, #6, is big, so it's going to be cost like $6, but you get a lot of gorgeous Capullo artwork. And the premise is interesting, where when you die, you don't actually go to heaven or hell. You actually go to like a Lord of the Rings world, and you fight against evil. So it's kind of fancy. So you get the beautiful Capullo artwork. And Millar has sort of chilled a little bit with some of his more recent series. So it's always fascinating to see that, and we'll see what happens. But it's a big issue, and it's expensive. It's $6, but it's thick, and it's like wall-to-wall artwork. So can't go wrong with that. So that's it for this week. I started culling my list a little bit. There were a couple books, Justice League and Nightwing, that came out this week also that I've been buying regularly, but I found the right time to stop them right now. Nothing's anything wrong with them, but I need to start cutting back on them, and I hadn't really been reading them as much. So I'll start cutting back on some of them, cutting back on some of the independent books, obviously some of the Marvel ones, and picking up some of these other ones to see if I like them as well. So we'll see what happens. But again, go to your comic book store. I'm telling you, Batman number 24 is going to be huge, and I think you need to go out and you need to go get it. It's Batman proposing to Catwoman, and while you're there, get the rest of Tom King's run in trade format or other comics. He's been doing a phenomenal job on Batman, and I've been never more excited about Batman than I am now. Check it out. And then Mikel Janin comes back on art for the War of Jokes and Riddles. I love the Riddler, and having him take on the Joker is an interesting idea. So go to your local comic store. If you don't know what your local comic store is, go to your search engine, type in Comic Shop Locator Service or CSLS. Website, take you to the website, type your zip code, bam, all the comic book stores within a 20-mile radius of where you live. So and then, just go and you explore them. My comic book store has a weekly sale every week. This week, they've got 50% off of usually like trades and stuff like that. They usually do that. But they're doing a 20% off of recent books, not the brand new ones. But what my store does is they have a shelf of new books, stuff that came out this week, stuff I just showed you. It comes out this week. And then they have on the wall are Marvel and DC books and independent books that have been out over the last, I'd say they got about 3 to 4 months worth up there, just to run out their stock that they ordered in. Because there might be people who come in, like there's issue 5 of a book, like Reborn. Reborn is on issue 6. You want to pick up, you like the artwork, but you want to get caught up on it. You might be able to find 1 through 5 on the wall and not in the back issue bin. So what they do is they keep it up on the wall for a little while, and then when it gets to reach a certain point, they'll take it off the wall if they have any left, and they'll put it in the back issue bin. So those books at my store are going to be 20% off. So that might be good for Sovereigns number 1. So that's why I might go this weekend to get it, because Sovereigns number 1 came out a couple weeks ago. I just didn't like it. It didn't seem appeasing to me, but now that I know, I didn't know really what it was. Now that I know it's connected to Magnus and Turok, I think I might have to pick that up as well. So I'll probably go into the comic book store this weekend. I'll probably pick that up and maybe pick up a trade or two. I don't know. So, go to your local comic book store, see if they have any special deals. They might. Last weekend was Wonder Woman Day. There's no special weekend anymore, probably until, I don't know, Halloween. But they might do something for Spider-Man when it comes out on July 7th. So I don't know. Just go to a comic book store. If you don't like one of the ones that's nearby you, go to one of the other ones. As I said, it's like within a 20-mile radius. Right now, I can think of 1, 2, 3, 4, there's about 5 other comic book stores in this area that if I can't find something at my store or I didn't like this store, I could go to one of those places. I know exactly where they are, and I could go and hang out with them there. But I'm lucky. I love my store. I love the people who work there, and it's really close. It's like literally by car, it's like 5 minutes from my house, if that. So, and by walking, it's only about 10 minutes. So it's not bad at all. So go to your local comic store. Go pick up Batman 24. I'm telling you, pick up Batman 24. Then pick up the trades that led to it, the first couple. Tom King's been doing a great job writing Batman. And then while you're there, also pick up some Superman stuff. Peter Tomasi, Patrick Gleason, they're killing it. Super Sons is a book that's on issue number 3. You can get caught up on that quickly. They also might have Funko Pops, which I really love, or T-shirts, or gaming stuff, or toys, or other stuff like that. Go in and find out. You might be surprised about what you might find in there. You might find something you might like. So go to a comic book store, pick up some of the stuff that I told you about, particularly Batman number 24. I'm telling you, you should check it out. And you might want to get caught up with the Batman Catwoman story, because it's not just something that came up suddenly. Tom King has been changing up Batman's attitude a little bit since he started writing the Rebirth books, and it's been a slow progression, but you can see that this is a logical position for Batman to be in at this point in the story. So we'll see what happens. So tune in tomorrow, 9:30 p.m., around that time anyway. I'll do my regular show, Dylan Knows. I will be talking more about the Batman Catwoman story. and maybe even talking about the Batman movie review, plus other stuff I'm going to be throwing out there as well. Should be a fun time. And go out there, buy comics, read comics, support your local comic book stores. Go to libraries if you want to. A lot of libraries nowadays, they do comic books and trades, so you can get caught up that way too. If you don't want to buy anything, rent the stuff for a couple weeks. Borrow it, I should say. Rent really is not a good connotation because you don't have to pay anything. You borrow those books and return them. So that's a good way to get caught up on stuff really quickly. So on that note, I will say goodbye. Go to your local comic book store this weekend. Check out what sort of sales they got. Take advantage of the sales. Buy some cool stuff. Buy some stuff you might not have even talked about. As I said, this is just a small sample of what came out this week. There's a whole bunch of other new books that came out this week. There's a bunch of new trades that came out this week. And then if your store is like my store, they should have at least 2 or 3 months worth of books previous up on the shelf still at regular price, and they might even have a sale like mine does, a 20% off deal. Then if you want, you can also check the back issue bins. They might have those so you can get caught up on that. They might even have a special deal on back issues. In fact, maybe my store's doing 50%. I'll have to double check that on back issues. It's possible. But I know they're probably doing some on 50% trades, so we'll see what happens. So on that note, I will bid you a good evening and have a pleasant week. Next week, I think it's probably going to be a big week, usually the second week of the month. Actually, that's the first week of the month. The second week of the month is usually the biggest one for me, and it might tax my what am I going to cut and what am I not going to cut. So luckily my wife gets paid tomorrow, so I won't be able to afford this stuff. This was, I just got lucky that I had some cash to pay for these, and it wasn't a lot of stuff. So adieu, farewell. Go to comic book stores. Batman 24. You won't regret it.